political party that was fighting for social justice for the blacks. And also yesterday I watched a documentary how they came out with a lot of modern day US health policies. The Black Panther Party came out with all of this, and one of the famous members was Tupac's mom, who was also instrumental in the Black Panther Party. So after watching that movie, I'm like, whoa. So we've been that high. Now we have to go up again. And I think the Black Panther movie is the catalyst for us to gather the momentum and go up again. So this morning, to help me do the discussions about Black Panther movie, is my guest, Yahoshoua Williams. And he's going to help us do the discussion. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. How about yourself?
When did you have your take to watch the movie?
We were Friday. We went Friday down at Global Cinema. It was a premiere party hosted by a Dinkra group. It's a brother from out of Baltimore. From out of D.C. He put it on with some other folks that have repatriated here to Ghana. And it was an outstanding event. I mean, the energy there was so positive. The expectation was tremendous. And we didn't get let down either. We weren't disappointed.
Wow. So like if you are estimating by just your mere eye, what is the number that turned out?
Oh, wow. The movie theater was packed at the first showing, and then I just put it like this: the theater was full the whole night. Even as we were coming out, it was a line packed to go in there, and then the lobby was packed with so much energy because it was an after party. Folk were just on fire like something I've never seen before.
Wow.
And it was just amazing, and to see so many young adults that were there, just inspired, and you know, they were just, the African spirit was there. I believe our ancestors would have been definitely proud.
Okay, so you've watched me. I have watched excerpt of it through the trailers, and I'm yet to watch my fully. But you have watched all. Summarize the whole story behind Black Panther for us.
Oh wow! First, let me say something about the Black Panther Party that existed in the United States. One of the things they were protecting the black community from was police brutality, which still exists to this day. And what they did was, let's say, for example, a brother or sister got arrested. They would literally use the Second Amendment right to bear arms and follow the police car, making sure that they did not do anything unlawful or illegal to make sure the brother wasn't or sister weren't beat up or killed. So they protected the community. They gave out free lunches. They just provided protection for the black community. And of course, it was infiltrated by the
FBI.
The FBI. J. Edgar Hoover, by the way, was a transvestite. He was secretly. He devised a program called the COINTELPRO, the counterintelligence program, and to destroy the rise of a black messiah. And that was significant because every major organization he was involved with helping to destroy by using some of our own to infiltrate the organizations and report back to him. But about the movie, I believe, wasn't just a movie. And this is where a lot of people are messed up with, because they're looking at it from whatever their issue is with the movie, but the movie is important for the time. Because do you know, in 2019, it'll be 400 years since we were taken out of here. And 400-year anniversary will be next year. So I believe the rise in the African spirit that was manifest in this movie was a precursor to what is going to happen coming next year and moving forward. That we're going to rise again collectively as a nation, as a continent, as a people. And what I saw in it was so many different African cultures manifested in this movie and showcased that anybody could look at it and be proud. Even the African of the diaspora, specifically us from the United States. Because it showcased a brother, and I'm not going to give up everything for everybody.
Exactly.
But it was the anger that was showcased in this brother. And it was an anger that's rightful, a rightful indignation, as I would say, because many of us felt, hey, you guys here, you've abandoned us. We're your brothers and sisters back in the States. We've been through these atrocities. We've been through this pain and anguish. We had to deal with this devil from sun up to sundown every day. We're still dealing with this devil. We're being killed in the streets. And you guys forgot about us. Come back and help validate us. That's again why, like I said last week, that the citizenship means so much to us. But we saw that in this movie too. We want to be recognized. We want to be loved. We want you to welcome us back.
Onto the continent.
Onto the continent, to be your brothers lost back with a hug, with some love. We're not these foreigners. We're not these Oburunis, but we're your brother. And look at our common enemy, which was showcased in that movie. We have a common enemy here. He did you wrong, and he's trying to take your wealth. He's trying to take our wealth, our resources, and all this. And we want to be welcomed back into the family. I also saw, which is most importantly to me, is the potential or possibilities, what Africa could have been and still could be, but what could have been without the white man's colonizing this place, this continent. What it could have been if slavery didn't interrupt our history. If all the resources and abilities that we had to endure and do to build America and build the Western Hemisphere, what could Africa be today if that weren't interrupted? But we can't go back and change history. But what we can do is change the future and make sure the future is secure and assured with the successes by welcoming us back, uniting with you all, acknowledging our faults. Let's heal our wounds. Let's talk about our differences. Let's talk about our pains openly and honestly, and let's move forward and with this advancement. Because many of us back in the States are putting all our energy on to a system that hates our guts. Over here, we're doing almost the same thing because we're loving everything white. But this movie did what it did was it sparked something in us, because they kept saying, because they didn't give any homage to any false deity. They gave homage to the ancestors all the time in this movie.
Wow.
All the time. We prayed to our ancestors, and then they did that powerful move after the handshake. But it was to the ancestors, and how we give respect to our ancestors by completing what they did not do, or what they could not do, and completing what was interrupted by European colonization.
You take a deliberate attempt to look at the reaction of our brothers from Ghana, for instance.
Oh yes.
Towards the movie, what was their reaction?
I think the reaction was greatly positive, because sometimes, even if I've noticed in many here, they're proud to be Ghanaian, but also diminishing it by taking on too many Western ideals. Give you a perfect example. Yesterday we were at the bank, and there was a brother that said he can't wait to see the movie, but he had his pants hanging down his. They call it sagging in the States.
Sagging, yeah.
I said,
we call it autofista in Ghana.
And many of us call it gay.
Okay, yeah, that's the origin.
Right.
Yeah, so
some people will refute that and argue otherwise, but I don't know any man that walks around showing his butt, so another man is going to look at it. That's something that by nature, I'm not talking about the perverted side, that a woman does, because men look at women. But not a natural man does not look at a natural man's behind.
No. Yeah.
And nor does a man show his behind so other men can look at it. Not a normal man. But that's another story. But nevertheless, when I shared with him some facts about that, I said that's not African culture. That's not our way. We walk around proud of our colors and our style, our flair. We have a certain walk. And he started. It resonated with him in his mind. And I said, when you see this movie, you'll understand why I said what I said. Because you're going to see manifestations of many different African cultures in this movie, and you're going to be able to relate to it and say, yes. That's why, again, I say, even the African and American experience is there. And it was seared and healed at the end. And you will see it.
The last time we met here, you said you are doing a GoFund project in order to help how many children?
1,000 children
in Ghana to watch the movie.
Yes.
How far is it going?
Oh my goodness. We went there with not even close to the expectation on Friday, and we've exceeded the expectation. And monies are still coming in because we want to do so much more, to the point that we registered our NGO called the Me Within Me. What that simply means is that, yes, I see you, Fuad, but who are you really? The real you inside, the real you that has the ancestors' genes.
The search for my authentic self.
Absolutely. Your purpose, your destiny, the whole you. So that's the motivating factor behind this whole program that we're doing with this GoFundMe page. Because, again, as this has sparked the resurrection of the African spirit in Africans worldwide, we want to continue with this motivation, with this NGO we're doing, by doing something continuously to help resurrect that spirit and to continue on with the next generation. Because all our energy is moving forward. My wife and I, and Sister Nia Lacey, who's working with us, and several others that will be working with us, is to inspire, empower the next generation so they can lead Africa, specifically starting with Ghana, to the realm of self-sufficiency. So we don't have to depend on outside. So we can create Ghana like a Wakanda, or whatever we want it to be, better than what it is today.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And on Friday, I liked there were two cinemas that were showing it. The Western Mall and the Global Cinema.
And Accra Mall.
On the same day?
Oh, yes.
Wow. Wow. Do you have any idea where next the movie is moving to?
Well, it's staying there right now. Matter of fact, we had a meeting yesterday with the brother Fitzgerald, who's the manager over at the Silverbird Cinema, where we'll be showing the movie for the children. And he said it was crazy good. He said folk came in there with drums and everything, the excitement, the energy, and these were Ghanaian youth coming to the movie theater and leaving out to, it was almost like a carnival, a celebration, because it sparked something in you. Because you got to remember, or many of us worldwide have a spirit of hopelessness to some degree, and that's why a lot of folk are escaping to the UK and to the US, to the Netherlands, trying to find hope. But I think what this movie did was spark something, say we can do this. Because think about it. People say, you hear all the naysayers say, well, Hollywood made the millions and Disney made the millions. But do you know that the director of this movie was black? He was afforded $200 million to direct this movie, more than any other black director ever. And they've already started contracting him to do part 2 and part 3. And I believe he's also participating in the Avengers movie that's coming out that has Black Panther in it and many of the stars. But that was amazing. The woman that did the costumes was black. And she was inspired by the many different African cultures. 95% of the cast was black. How can you be angry with that unless something is wrong, unless you're just high or drunk on haterade?
Yeah.
But it was amazing. And for the young to see that, and to see the power positions, even in the brother called Killmonger, but to see the strength and power and the conviction of being proud Africans was showed there. We didn't see any buffoonery, any clowns, anything that diminished the proudness of black culture. The women in that movie, people say, well, it was about feminism. I didn't see feminism. I saw strong women that were still supportive and supportive to their men. I didn't see homosexual women. I saw these women that were ready to stand beside their man and fight for what was right, which was their culture and their land. That was powerful.
You're tuning in. This is Xlive Africa, where we live life the X way, and everything about black people, we talk about it here. Trying to do your best in your enemy's sights wouldn't work. The solution is coming home. Or what do you say? What do you say, Williams?
Let me tell you something. That was $1 million statement right there. I mean, you ought to give yourself a hand clap for that one. But there's a few things that I would like to bring out. One of the things that the sister that was narrating the story said something about kidney failure or kidney disease. One of the major contributing factors to kidney disease, which leads to kidney disease, is in fact hypertension, high blood pressure, which is caused from stress, caused from anxiety, poor diet. Because like I said last week, many of the areas within the black community are deserts, places for quality foods. So that leads to that. And we're talking about, and this is something that family here on the continent need to know, that everything in America, especially as it pertains to black folk, is not paradise. Contrary to what you may see on television, we're catching hell in America. Most black folk aren't rich. I did some stats. There's something like 40.6 million blacks in America, and something like 35,000 are millionaires. This is not what people think. Most people aren't millionaires riding around on Bentleys. Most people that have money are leasing these things. I'm talking about they don't own their houses. Most of the athletes that make $1 million end up losing all of that at the end. And so I'm saying a lot of this stuff, the health issues, the health crisis is paramount there in America for black folk. And I'm saying that something has to change. And like you said, I believe the remedy is to return home. But we got to think. The Black Panther Party was demonized by, as we saw, the propaganda put out by the FBI and J. Edgar Hoover. And we believed it, and it was continually propagated through the church. Because anything that's strong and black is considered dangerous. And devilish. And devilish. Any independent thinking black is considered dangerous and radical. We use these terms, radical and extremist. Yet, in America right now, there have been, this year, just in February, there have been 18 mass shootings in schools in America done by white people. White boys. Mass shootings with automatic machine guns. You don't see, but yet black youth are the ones labeled as violent. I have a video that I saw that was posted on Facebook of a father with a boy taking his backpack, riding his bicycle, pulling out a semi-automatic handgun, and then pulling out a fully automatic weapon, training him to engage. Engage in what? Engage in the enemy. They see it, black folk. Because they're afraid that what they did to us, we're going to do to them. And let me say something to all the white folk out here. Black folk don't have time to be worrying about you. We are concentrating on trying to lift up and liberate our people, moving us forward, and heal some of the wounds that we've had with ourselves, and to heal us so we can become one again. We don't have time trying to enslave you. You're enslaving yourself because you're going to reap what you sow. That's just the fact of life.
Systematic racism in the U.S. I heard in the video the man was talking about health, racism in healthcare. So does it mean that there's racism in all spheres of life against the black people in the U.S.?
Oh yes. Remember, in the Constitution of the United States of America, black folk were considered 3/5 of a human being.
What does that mean?
It's not 1/2, not 1/3, not 1/4, 3/5. We're not considered a human being. It was in the documents. They try to rewrite it and try to say it's not there. It's there. When there was a case, and it said, and the white Supreme Court justice says, there's no law for a black man that a white man has to uphold. We were afforded the right to vote, but it didn't get approved until the 60s. They still are denying us the right to vote in many places and doing all kinds of voter fraud. But anywhere where we unite and we try to get strong, they try to blow it up. Tulsa, Oklahoma was known as Black Wall Street, where blacks, slaves, were building this city. They had banks. They had their own schools. They were financially independent. Do you know what the United States of America, know what the government did? Blew it up. Bombs. dropped bombs on it and killed everybody. In the 90s in Philadelphia, it was a black community. They dropped bombs on them. We're not talking about Afghanistan. We're not talking about Iran. We're not talking about Panama. We're talking about in the areas where black folk live. White women have accused black men of rape when they were committing adultery in Rosewood, Florida. Went down there and hung black women and black men. This stuff happens. Just before we came here last year, white boys get drunk and say, let's go kill a black man. They cut this guy's head off and dropped his head off at his mother's house. They do stuff like this all the time to us, and until social media and to the cameras, most people believe we're just complaining, just talking about issues.
Yesterday I saw a picture of how they handle Ghana, the guy they killed in 2005, when the asthmatic guy who said I can't breathe.
Yeah. And
an asthmatic guy who was just selling cigarettes with that tax.
Right.
About 6 policemen were on him, which led to his death because he could not breathe and he died.
Right.
And the guy who just shot somebody dead like 3 days ago, the way they handle him, just one policeman holding him.
Yeah. No, I got something better for you. The crazy lunatic devil, white boy that went inside that church and shot everybody up, including the pastor. They went to go arrest him. You know what they did before they took him to jail? They took him to go get a hamburger. They took him to go get a hamburger at Burger King, the same restaurant they're building right there in the Crowd Mall, right by the Silverbird Cinema. They took him to get a hamburger. They didn't treat him like a monster. They didn't choke him out. They didn't shoot him. And this boy had an arsenal of weapons in his house. So it's 2 Americas. There's black America and there's everybody else. And that's why folk from Ghana, all of Africa, you want to hurry up and get to America, you'll see the reality. And like many that we know wish they never left here and went to America.
How do you, from my research, it looks like majority of African Americans, conscious one, don't trust the public health system in the U.S.
We don't trust much of anything, much government or anything. You have major cities in America that's run by black folk and it's still the same. For the most part, it's even worse. They don't trust the health system because you ever heard of the Tuskegee experiment?
Yeah.
How they injected us with syphilis and didn't tell us and went back and we infected our women. A lot of the diseases, we believe a lot of the things are manufactured by government or whomever. People can say that's conspiracy theories, but these are things that black folk talk about all the time. And now all of a sudden certain white folk are starting to see it because maybe it's white guilt, as I call it. But nevertheless, the tide is turning. But we don't trust the healthcare system. That's another contributing factor to a lot of our sicknesses, especially with black men. They don't trust the doctors because of this history. Because we've been used as test dummies or guinea pigs. Guinea pigs, not test dummies, but guinea pigs. And they've used this to test us with medicines to see what was going to happen. Because they know our Constitution is richer and stronger than theirs. So let's test them with these people. They've been through all this hell. So why not test them with chemicals? Do you know also you can find local newspapers if the pharmaceuticals want to try different drugs, they'll pay you to inject you with drugs because so many people are hard up for money. They would go through these tests and not knowing totally what this stuff is doing to their body, but they do this.
Wow. What is the reality to the majority of African Americans in the U.S. about Africa, and why especially those who are making it don't think of coming back to Africa to kind of invest?
Number one, it's in our DNA because our DNA was altered by slavery. What do I mean by that? If we were to speak our native tongue when our ancestors came here, they would cut our tongue out. And then they would do it in front of everybody. They had something called slave busting, where the white slave master would take the strongest black male, bring his wife, his children, and the rest of the community out, tie him down on the ground, and rape him. See, that's the culture of the Europeans, that homosexuality stuff.
They would tie the man down and rape the man.
Right, in front of his wife and his children and the rest of the community. They did also something called slave busting, where they would take two horses, tie his arm and his leg to one horse, and tie him to another horse, to put fear in the slaves, and to make the women mentally strong and make the man mentally weak but physically strong. That's why you have a lot of strong women and the men are sort of docile. And what they would do, they have them tied like this and have rope and hit both the horses. The horses would run and split the man in half right in front of the family. This is the kind of stuff we endure. Tar and feather you to punish you. The hot tar that they use for the asphalt. Put you or throw you in that and then put feathers on you where that stuff would just burn you alive. That's the kind of stuff they would do. They would have a church service. That's where the term picnic came from. It's called pick a nigger.
Teach us.
Where they would have a church service. These good old-fashioned loving Jesus Christians, white folk. They would have church service. And at the end, they would have a cookout where they're cooking food outside on a grill. See a random black man or woman and go grab him and hang him from the tree, cut off his testicles, put it in his mouth, and kill him. Or if it was a woman that was pregnant, they would cut the baby out of her stomach, of her womb, and then smash the baby on the ground and stomp on the baby in front of their children. That's what they would do. Only an animal would do something like that. That's number one why most of us don't have a...
So they kick somebody randomly. That's what we
call
pick a nigger.
Yes.
Whoa.
See, this is the kind of stuff...
I'm done. I'm not going on a picnic anymore.
Well, we changed the narrative, changed the name. And see, this is why what we have in our DNA, we have a fear. We could not use our names. Our names were replaced by a white man's name. So Williams was somebody that owned me. That's why I went back to that, because I wanted to have my African name restored. Not just pick a name just because it sounds good, but I want that restored through some kind of traditional ceremony, my wife and I. But I'm saying that to say that many things were put in us that to make us, number one, abhor, be terrified of Africa. And then they would do, when we were so-called released and freed, every image of Africa was something that was shameful. You took history in school. You saw the Roman history, Greek history. All of that was fame, even though they were perverted, nasty, barbarian, sadistic history relates to these people. But anything with Africa was something embarrassing. Not realizing that we taught the Europeans not to sleep with their chickens. That's why they had diseases like chicken pox, because we had to tell them, no, your animals sleep outside of your house, not in your house. That's why they came with all these diseases, even to what they know as the New World, infecting the Native Americans with diseases because they were filthy, dirty people. You know why the French are known for their perfumes?
No.
Because the French thought it was grotesque to take a bath more than once a month. So to cover their stench, they had to... they created these perfumes. But they smelled so bad. And so what has happened even here and in our communities? We were a clean people because we believed cleanliness was next to godliness. So when colonialism came and took us away, in many ways, we took on their nature and they took some of ours. If you went to Europe 1,500 years ago, it looked like many of our nations. The trash that you see around even in Ghana here, that wasn't our culture. We were clean people because we knew that it's amazing to me how this religious stuff, because you can't get away from that, because that's part of the main ingredients that has destroyed our minds. We say in one breath and go to church every week. And we say in one breath that the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, and to them that dwell therein. And then take our trash and throw it on the ground. And our ground is where our sustenance comes from, our food, our wealth, our existence come from the ground. And yet we throw all of our rubbish on the ground. And and that's the way of the European. That was not the true African way. If you look at the movie Black Panther, it was clean and orderly. That's our true nature. We were people of order, divine order. instituted by the elders who are now our ancestors. But because we are so attracted to the European ideal, the European paradigm, we're taking on their nasty, filthy, dirty ways. And in order for us to be restored, we have to bring all of these ideals to the examination table and have the courage to look at them from our faith, our belief systems, our practices, even the clothes we wear, the products that we buy and put on our bodies. We need to bring them to the table and re-examine them and say, are they adding to our liberation and our sovereignty, or are they creating us to remain in a state of dependency and enslavement? If we're not willing to do that, we're going to be here another 500 years, still in the same place, probably worse.
So, in there, the issue was, how was the issue of religion highlighted in the movie?
I saw it more of a collective understanding and respecting of the ancestors, being one with nature, because they knew the earth was where the mineral came from. I can't think of the name. Can't think of the name right now.
Vibranium, and uranium.
So if vibranium came from the earth, which made them as unique as they were, because they were an African nation that was not colonized, so they had to respect the earth. So they understood that was the way of the ancestors. So the respect came from the ancestors, and the universal God of the heavens, who gave the ancestors the power and gave them the ingenuity, the wherewithal to make this their strength, that they were able to put the earth, because I believe is the Heavenly Father is connected with the Mother Earth, that's created that balance in the universe, how we should live by, man and woman, because you can't have just all men, you just can't have all women, you have to have that perfect balance, which is the ma'at, balance. So that coming together, I believe, is the universal. It wasn't a religion where they went to a service every week and paid some man or some woman. It wasn't like that. They were connected to the universal God. And they understood it through the giving the respect and honor to their ancestors. And I believe that's the way we were prior to European invasion.
So in your estimation, what do you think the movie Black Panther, what effect is going to have on black people around the world?
If we just leave and stay emotional, many of us are going to go back to the same old honorary European ways. When I say honorary European, wanting to be the European way. Hopefully, this is what my hope and prayer is, that those that see what this movie has done can use it as a platform to now, even though that was fantasy, even though that was a comic book story, but use it as a tool to inspire and teach the truth about African history, to show the history of superheroes that really existed in Africa. Because most of the time when you talk about great African civilizations, all you hear about is Egypt or ancient Kemet. They don't understand all the great civilizations, even in West Africa. Many people don't even realize that many of the Ghanaians are not indigenous naturally of this area, but they migrated from another region, northeast Africa.
Like the Ghans, the Ewes,
exactly, the
Nigeria.
Exactly. Yeah. But and not realizing that really they were the same people, but it's those European borders that have separated us with their languages, etc. But if those of us who consider themselves awakened would see what this has done, instead of complaining about the movie and talking about Disney and Hollywood and all this, but use it while the energy is high for Africa, use it now to drop some real knowledge and history, to put in that sense of pride that you don't have to go elsewhere. Let's stay home and beautify this place. Ghana Tourism Authority, for example, is putting their emphasis on tourism, going to America, for example, to bring tourists here. But we don't want to bring people here collectively because, let me say this first. They're bringing people here because millions will come and expose Ghana to the rest of Africa, especially in the neglected part of the diaspora, America, so they can come here. But we don't want to bring America to our house, and our house is not clean. So we need to work on collectively, what can we do to make Ghana rise to the next level. What can we do? We need to empower our youth. We need to come up with all kinds of plans to beautify Africa. Let's do some recycling. Let's do all these things to empower us so we can keep the wealth here and we don't have to go on the outside. We have some of the youngest, strongest, most intelligent young minds here in Africa. I'll give you another one. I worked in the school system in America, in Baltimore, Maryland. And there was a test done where the smartest youth were in the world. And I ask people this all the time. Some people say Asia, they say Europe, they say America. I said no. It was Africa, particularly West Africa, where the sharpest youth were as far as intelligence, with the least amount of resources. So if we invest in our young people, when 75% of Ghana's population is under 25, what does that say? If we're not investing in the youth and investing in the land, we're wasting our time. We're furthering the cause for to continue to propagate European colonization, to keep Ghana and the rest of Africa down. Ghana has to lead the way for all of Africa, being that it's the gateway. And we got to do that by empowering the young. Use this Black Panther platform as a means to infiltrate the minds of the falsehood, not just here, but worldwide. The truth and the power of African history and what we can do collectively moving forward.
Somebody sent me a message 2 days ago that he's had the government of Ghana want to buy drones and helicopters to police the nation because of this police brutality and all of that. And the person suggested that those monies that can go into the buying of drones and helicopters can actually be channeled into job creation